SpaceX fired thrusters for over 19 minutes to push the entire International Space Station higher. This was a massive achievement for Dragon spacecraft. This was not a routine move. It marked Dragon's fifth reboost in the CRS-33 mission series. This proves that SpaceX's capsule can now handle a job Russia's Progress spacecraft has dominated for years. Here's what makes this special. During this 19-minute burn, Dragon did something Progress has never accomplished. How did Dragon manage to beat Progress at its own game? Why do experts think this moment signals a major shift in space operations and international cooperation? Let's break it down in today's Tech Map episode. Dragon was originally built to carry cargo to the ISS. It was not designed to conduct orbital reboosts like Russia's Progress vehicle. Gaining that ability required solving several engineering problems. The capsule's Draco thrusters were not positioned for efficient boosting moves. They were meant to control Dragon's own movement. SpaceX fixed this by installing two rear-facing Draco engines. These engines align with the station's velocity vector. The engines are part of a boost kit mounted in Dragon's trunk section. The engines draw fuel from 6 dedicated tanks in the trunk. These tanks hold hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. These two chemicals ignite when they touch each other. The tanks are wrapped in silver insulation. A central helium pressurization tank is covered in black carbon fiber. SpaceX used existing communication lines on Dragon to control the system. They routed them through the station's docking mechanism. The company also reused hardware wherever possible. The 2 Draco engines came from the Crew 8 mission. The 6 fuel tanks came from 2020 abort test units. Even though the kit uses recycled parts, it adds roughly 20 miles per hour to the station's speed. That equals about 9 meters per second. This equals about 1.5 Progress reboosts. It's roughly a quarter of the station's yearly orbit maintenance. Each Draco engine produces about 400 newtons of thrust. That's 90 pounds of force. The pair delivers a combined output of about 800 newtons. They are optimized for extended burns. Progress typically delivers around 500 to 600 newtons during a reboost. The boost kit carries its own fuel and helium pressure. This operates independently of Dragon's main systems. This prevents depletion of flight reserves. It ensures steady power during long burns. The trunk-mounted thrusters face directly along the station's velocity vector. This improves efficiency for orbit raising. Heating elements and insulation prevent the fuel from freezing or overheating in the vacuum of space. These upgrades allow Dragon to sustain burns lasting more than 19 minutes. This is far longer than the brief reboosts performed by Progress. One more reboost is scheduled before Dragon returns to Earth in January. This will complete 6 burns during its 5-month stay at the station. Each Progress mission usually conducts 1 or 2 reboosts over 6 months. Dragon is not only more powerful than Progress, it is also far more cost-efficient. This is largely due to its reusability. Both the Dragon spacecraft and its Falcon 9 launch vehicle can be reused multiple times. Progress and its Soyuz 2.1 rocket are expendable. This gives Dragon an important role as a backup system for Progress. This is particularly true when Russian launches face delays. Beyond the technical advantages, this achievement reflects a broader shift in space operations. It also shows changes in international partnerships. For over 2 decades, the ISS has faced an uncomfortable truth. Without the Russian Progress spacecraft, it would eventually fall from the sky. Progress vehicles have historically handled approximately 80% of the station's orbital maintenance. They execute the routine but critical burns needed to counteract atmospheric drag. The ISS loses roughly 100 meters of altitude per day. This makes regular reboosts not optional, but existential. That dependency is now colliding with political reality on multiple fronts. Russia has announced its intention to withdraw from the ISS partnership by 2028. This leaves a gaping hole in the station's operational infrastructure. But the timeline for finding alternatives just accelerated dramatically. Serious damage at the Baikonur Cosmodrome launchpad has created immediate delays in Progress missions. This forces NASA to confront a question it had hoped to answer gradually. Can the ISS maintain its orbit without Russian spacecraft? Dragon's CRS-33 mission is providing the answer in real time. It is executing 6 reboosts over 5 months. This covers 25 to 33% of the station's annual altitude maintenance needs. Dragon is not just filling a temporary gap. It is demonstrating that American commercial spacecraft can independently sustain ISS operations. This represents a fundamental shift in the station's operational architecture. Consider the mathematics of independence. If a single Dragon cargo mission can handle up to 1/3 of annual reboost requirements, then 3 to 4 Dragons per year could theoretically manage the entire workload. NASA already flies multiple Dragon cargo missions annually under the Commercial Resupply Services contract. The capability for full operational independence already exists in the manifest. This redundancy transforms the political equation. Russia's 2028 withdrawal was once viewed as a potential crisis requiring urgent solutions. It becomes a manageable transition. The Baikonur delays might have triggered emergency replanning just 2 years ago. They are now absorbed within existing U.S. commercial capacity. Dragon has converted a critical single-point failure into a resilient multi-provider system. Russian reboost capability becomes part of a broader network. The implications extend beyond the ISS. NASA is simultaneously qualifying Northrop Grumman's Cygnus spacecraft for reboost operations. This creates a second American option. What was once an exclusive Russian capability is becoming a standard feature of U.S. commercial cargo vehicles. The ISS is entering an era where altitude maintenance is no longer a political vulnerability. It is a routine logistics function managed by commercial providers. The strategic message is clear. Dragon's 5-month reboost campaign is not just keeping the ISS aloft. It is proving that the station can thrive in a post-Russian operational environment. How can the United States keep its dominance in space without spending like it did during the Apollo era? The answer seems simple in theory. Let NASA do what it was meant to do. Provide oversight and funding, while private companies handle the research, development, and operations. That is the approach the Trump administration is betting on. Just hours after private astronaut Jared Isaacman was sworn in as the new NASA administrator, President Donald Trump signed an executive order. It is called Ensuring American Space Superiority. The order sets out his space policy goals for the next 3 years. It has a heavy emphasis on one thing: commercialization. The plan is to transform NASA from an agency that runs everything itself. It becomes one that partners with private industry using their resources to drive progress. At the heart of this shift is a new mindset: commercial solutions first. Instead of NASA building everything from scratch, it can now buy rockets and systems off the shelf from companies like SpaceX, and it can do it faster using tools like Other Transaction Authority. This lets it skip the usual government red tape. Space Act agreements create flexible partnerships that streamline collaboration. These mechanisms replace the old cost-plus contracts that have slowed down NASA's human spaceflight programs for decades. The policy lays out a clear roadmap: privatize infrastructure once owned and operated by the government. That includes the International Space Station. Washington plans to retire the ISS by 2030. It will invite private companies to build commercial space stations in its place. The goal is to maintain a continuous American presence in low Earth orbit without the massive government price tag. But why push for commercial stations at all? What makes them better than something like the ISS? Better does not mean more powerful or scientifically advanced. It means more sustainable, more affordable for taxpayers, and more in tune with how spaceflight actually works today. The ISS was born out of a 1990s worldview. It was shaped by the Cold War, international diplomacy, and cost-plus contracting. It was a triumph of collaboration in science. But it came with built-in inefficiencies. Take cost. The ISS drains NASA's budget by roughly $3 to $4 billion every year just to keep it running. That money does not build new capabilities. It keeps old ones on life support. Every dollar spent maintaining the ISS is a dollar not going to Artemis, Mars missions, nuclear propulsion research, or next-generation science projects. Commercial stations flip the equation completely. NASA pays only for what it needs: crew time, experiment slots, and cargo services rather than footing the bill for the entire station. The result is predictable spending and a major shift in financial risk. The risk is now carried by the private sector, not the taxpayer. Then there is the question of incentives. Government-run stations are built for political stability, not speed or efficiency. Commercial ones are built for competition. Their survival depends on cutting costs, improving reusability, and attracting a mix of customers. NASA, foreign agencies, pharmaceutical companies, materials science startups, even space tourists. That diversity forces innovation. Companies are pushed to automate more, reduce crew size, design smaller modular stations, and upgrade faster. Unlike the ISS, which cannot really be overhauled or rebuilt, a private station could be retired and replaced every decade or so as technology advances. Next, scalability. The ISS serves one owner with one mission. A commercial station could serve many markets at once: government research, private biotech, in-space manufacturing, media production, even training and tourism. If NASA steps away, the station does not go dark, it keeps running. That is the policy key word here: resilience. Through NASA's Commercial Low Earth Orbit Destinations program and earlier seeding efforts, 4 serious contenders have emerged. There is Axiom Space, Blue Origin's Orbital Reef project, Voyager Space and Airbus with their joint venture Starlab, and Northrop Grumman. Northrop proposed a design based on its Cygnus cargo modules. Not all will make it. Realistically, only 1 or 2 will reach long-term sustained operation. But that is by design. NASA wants a competitive ecosystem, not a monopoly. There is also one name that has not officially joined the race yet. But everyone is watching closely. SpaceX with its trump card, Starship. Every space station you have ever seen was designed around rockets that could barely lift 20 tons at a time. The ISS, Mir, and Salyut were all products of that constraint. They had to be launched in pieces and assembled in orbit, one module at a time. Even today's commercial contenders are still designing around that same philosophy. This is true even if they are technically compatible with Starship. Starship breaks that rule. Its massive internal volume, over 1,000 cubic meters, matches the entire ISS. The core systems it needs to function already exist. Life support, propulsion, and avionics were all developed through NASA's $2.9 billion Human Landing System contract, awarded to SpaceX in 2021. That means turning a lunar Starship into a low Earth orbit station would be relatively simple. Add solar panels, docking ports, and interior outfitting. The estimated additional cost is between $1 and $2 billion. Compare that to the ISS, which cost more than $150 billion. And there is another edge that SpaceX has, and its rivals do not. Vertical integration. Every other player has to buy or rent pieces of the puzzle. They need to purchase rocket launches, arrange crew transport, negotiate schedules, and depend on NASA for system integration. SpaceX does not. It owns everything: the rocket, the crew vehicle like Dragon, and the ground systems. That control gives it 3 decisive advantages. First, schedule dominance. If SpaceX wants to launch its station next year, it almost does not need anyone's permission or a spot on someone else's manifest. Second, cost suppression. It does not have to pay launch margins to itself. And third, design freedom. SpaceX can design a station that fits perfectly inside Starship instead of designing a Starship that adapts to someone else's station. No other competitor can do that. If shifting to this commercialized model of space operations, what exactly does the United States gain? 3 major advantages stand out: flexibility, cost-effectiveness, and speed of innovation. First, flexibility and resilience. Instead of being locked into a single rigid system, the new model emphasizes adaptability. If one company fails or goes bankrupt, another can quickly step in. The network survives even if one part collapses. That is a huge contrast to the International Space Station, which represents a single point of failure. Once it goes down, so does the entire US presence in low Earth orbit. Commercialization creates multiple stations run by different operators. This builds in redundancy that keeps operations going even during setbacks. It is a system designed to grow without breaking under its own costs. Second, cost-effectiveness and economics. This model dramatically lightens the government's financial load. As NASA gradually steps back, private stations must prove their economic worth. They cannot rely on endless funding. They have to attract investors and customers. That pressure drives efficiency. Competition among multiple providers naturally pushes the entire market toward leaner, smarter operations. This is something no long-term centralized plan could easily achieve. And third, the speed of technological innovation. Market pressure and the needs of non-government customers force private companies to evolve faster than government-led programs ever could. They focus on automating systems and using modular parts that can be replaced or upgraded quickly. The philosophy shifts completely. A space station is no longer a national monument. It is a commercial product, and products are meant to be improved, not preserved. Fourth, soft power and international influence. Beyond technology and economics, the commercial model reshapes how the United States projects power in space. By setting the rules of the game, US standards could quietly become the global default. Hardware interfaces, docking systems, crew procedures, all designed around American commercial norms. That is how influence spreads. Not through treaties, but through technology adoption. And then there is what might be called the access purchase model. Instead of inviting partners through diplomatic partnerships, the US offers them access at a price. Foreign governments and agencies buy services from American-led stations just like any other customer. It is commerce disguised as diplomacy. A subtle but powerful form of soft power built on market control rather than political alignment. But this model, while bold, is risky. It is a high-stakes policy gamble with huge potential. If it works, it could create a thriving orbital economy powered by competition and constant innovation. If it fails, it could expose deep structural vulnerabilities in how the US maintains its space presence. The first risk lies in the market itself. What if the demand is not really there? The vision assumes booming markets for space tourism, in-space manufacturing, and commercial research. But if those industries do not grow fast enough, the new stations might struggle to stay afloat. Unlike the Chinese model, which rests on steady government funding, the US ecosystem depends on paying customers. No customers, no cash flow. And if that happens, the entire network could unravel. Next, financial and operational fragility. Private companies carry the burden now. Long-term financial risk, operational costs, and the threat of bankruptcy. Some may run out of money or cancel projects altogether. The system by design is messy. It encourages rapid innovation, but sacrifices the predictability and control of centralized planning. What you gain in creativity, you lose in stability. Finally, the strategic consequences. If this experiment fails, losing momentum here would not just mean fewer rockets or research missions. It could mean losing leadership. China's state-backed stable model could fill the vacuum and become the default system for low Earth orbit operations. Even though the American model aims for redundancy through multiple commercial stations, in its early years, it may actually be more fragile. It depends on companies still searching for profit and sustainability.